We're Team 4, Notes for Naya, Musical Design. I'm Brian Kearns. Existing solutions. At the beginning of the semester, we had to research existing recorders out there on the market that'll help a disabled person or a person with a disabled ligament. And we found that these recorders only addressed the fact that someone couldn't use one hand. And these recorders here are able to play with only one hand. In our design, we wanted to make our recorder able for Naya to play it with a wiggle. That was part of the design criteria. So although these recorders are very useful for someone without a working proper hand, we needed our design to really help Naya, our client. So, Dylan will talk about human factors.
I'm Dylan Johnson, and to add what Brian was saying, our main focus was her wiggle, which is also kind of the main human factor in this entire project for us. Our design utilizes her wiggle, so she will be able to support and also play from the bottom of the recorder. We examined the range of motion she has through a video we took earlier and designed our keys accordingly to that. We also took into consideration the wiggle sensitivity to certain materials and also the overall strength of the wiggle hand and also the dominant hand. And altogether, we really wanted to keep everything simple and based around that. And I'll pass on to Aaron about his time.
Actually, it's me. I'm Justin Dobrovich. I'm going to be talking about materials and safety. When we considered the materials that we wanted to go with, we knew we had a couple of criteria that we wanted to be met. So we judged our materials on factors such as hardness, impact resistance, the coefficient of thermal expansion, sometimes surface finish, and just relative safety to Naya. Safety is obviously a big concern when it comes to 3D printing sometimes because it's a little bit of an emerging field. But we just wanted to make sure that there were no outstanding safety concerns to her. We wanted to reduce the risk of allergic reactions due to skin contact or contact by the mouth, because some dyes can actually be caustic to the human body. We also did a little bit of a different research, not just in terms of plastics. We had researched materials such as wood, metal, polystyrene, polypropylene, and ABS plastics. This was all in an attempt to fit the criteria that we needed and also to try to troubleshoot what kind of tone we were going to want to get, like if a 3D print wasn't going to give us the appropriate tone we wanted, based on surface finish or whatever. This here is the data sheet, the safety data sheet for this product. The product we used was from L&K Manufacturing, and it was actually the RGD Endure 450. Which was eventually produced in our first mock-up. This material was actually recommended by L&K. We didn't actually pick it, but it turned out to be a very reliable or suitable for our needs. It's suitable for the tone. Also, good quality, high-resolution print. However, we do realize that this material does have limitations. And in order to thoroughly hit all of our design criteria, we are still continuously researching different possible solutions.
I'm Aaron Koss. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the design process. So at the beginning of the semester, we started looking at this project, and we decided that we wanted to focus on keeping it simple and just focusing on the functionality of it. So we looked at existing instruments like clarinets and oboes and all that sort of stuff. We came up with this initial concept that basically uses the pinky on her right hand, which will play on the top, which typically is not used during normal play, but in this design, the pinky will play two keys that you can see there on the right, and her wiggle will go underneath, and the two holes are transferred. The two bottom holes are transferred from the top to the bottom, and there's paddles that she can support with her wiggle, or with her range of motion that she has, she can open or close them. So we went down to Bangor Brass and Woodwind at the beginning of the semester, and we got a bunch of these old instrument parts that kind of helped us figure out how to do the keys and think about the pads that are involved to properly close and seal all the valves. And that's you can see that's the sketch of our kind of the initial concept. So this is our first mock-up. So we took some of those instrument parts and we kind of Frankensteined together this mock-up from flute keys, oboe posts, and various pin springs that we found. And kind of gave us some good insights into the manufacturing process that might go into this, and some of the issues around sealing the holes properly. It actually, after doing this, we decided that 3D printing the whole recorder bottom might be a better option, since we're moving the holes positions. We wouldn't have to seal those holes again. So we started refining the design, and so this is some of the CAD work. As we started going back and refining the design, we reworked the recorder body and decided that we were going to try to 3D print the whole bottom section into keys. So I'll hand it over to Travis to talk about the next mock-up.
Hey, I'm Travis Sherman. So after the first mock-up, we knew that we needed a more accurate piece in order to do testing with it. We were lucky enough to come across L&K Manufacturing, who generously printed the lower half of our recorder and then also the key attachments for it. The printer that they use is an Objet Eden 260B, which is the most accurate printer north of Boston. It's accurate within 1/1000th of an inch, which gave us an awesome surface finish, and it also gave us pretty accurate assembly of all the parts. So you can see here on the right, we have a pretty good mock-up of it. We were actually able to get springs in our second mock-up, which we were able to do an initial pitch test with. And we were also able to brainstorm more design ideas based off this assembly. So in the middle here, we have the initial pitch test, and you have a few more up-close shots. Like I said, the surface finish was pretty smooth, but we're also researching materials further to see if we can get something with a little more strength and a little bit more rigidity.
All right, my name is Gentry Birch. I'm going to talk about our meeting with professional engineer Herb Crosby. We decided we wanted to go through our design concepts with the professional engineer to improve our design and see where there's ways we can improve. Most notably, one of the issues we had was during the assembly of that 3D printed mock-up, one of the posts that the keys and springs rotated about had snapped off. And it was a concern when it was printed by the manufacturer, but Herb basically suggested that we worry less a little bit about aesthetics of our design and maybe beef it up so that it's stronger and that there's no material failures in the future. And we plan to implement that in our next design iteration. And as you can see, we did some rough tone testing in the office there, and they came out pretty well, and it seems like everything should work well. Also talked about safety and other evaluation techniques as possibly making it a unibody so that nothing can fall off or be removed, so that it won't be lost or won't be any chance of choking hazards or any safety issues. But overall, it was a very useful meeting, and I think it benefited us a lot. Corey's going to talk about our sponsors.
Yep, I'm Corey Dennis. We just want to acknowledge some of the sponsors that helped us out during this project. L&K Manufacturing, they gave us their time and materials for the mock-up. Bangor Brass and Woodwind, Joe Shaw, he gave us old instruments, parts, and he also evaluated our mock-up. And Kenneth Sanders for his kind money donation. Any questions?
Where is L&K located?
They're located right above the AMC currently. They're in the process of moving down to the Portland area, I believe.
Is it a spin-off company from University name, or?
Well, they're actually two seniors who worked on a capstone group together, which they are they do work with campus for a lot of projects that they need. But they're also, I think Andrew Caden's the president. He worked for AMC for a while.
Are the pebbles, are they removable? Because for cleaning, you get a lot of bacteria under there.
Are the what removable?
The
keys?
The keys, yeah.
The keys will technically be removable, but we're hoping that we find a way of sanitizing it without removing them. That's the plan.
The method that we're researching is actually an actual sanitization method that schools use. Because putting it through a dishwasher actually isn't encouraged for any school as a procedure for sanitizing it. So that's something that we're going to be looking into for the rest of this semester and also next semester.
Yeah, you said she's gonna be using her pinky finger on the top there. Is there gonna be any way for her to actually like support the whole thing, you know, when she has to take off her thumb or other notes?
Yeah, so her wiggle will be supporting it underneath on the bottom, and those two paddles, she can rest it on one side of the pivot and it just supports it and keeps the keys open. Or if she wants to play those keys, she can move it into the other side of the pivot to close them. So normally her hand is always underneath supporting it. So between that contact point and having it, you know, in her mouth, it'll be fully supported.
You mentioned that concerns about the surface texture affecting the tone. Did you look into what actually determines the tone of a record? Hole size, openings, tapers, things like that?
From what we figured out, the inside bore is important. The position from the end of the recorder down, like the hole position down, is important, but not necessarily around the circumference. We actually did some research onto the material, like the physics of musical instruments, and it turns out, from what we figured out, that the material itself is not that critical. It's more the position of the holes, the size of the bores, and the surface finish.
How have your expectations of this project changed since you began? I'm just curious. It might be a tough question. Is it much more challenging than you thought when you initially heard the project outline?
A little
I mean,
bit.
I mean, I think we didn't realize there were so many aspects to this. I mean, looking at it now, I think there's a lot of areas that other departments can help us out with. I mean, we learned that with the AMC, and I think, as far as sanitization or the learning curve that Naya's going to experience when she uses these recorders, I think that's something that the music department could help out with, and possibly the bio department as far as sanitization methods and what's safe and what's going to be the most general way of doing it.
Good.
Thanks.
Thank you.